Hi everyone, this is Jillian from Jewish Workshops and AISH Webinars. It is a pleasure to be on the line with you all today, and we are extremely privileged to be here with Sara Chana Radcliffe. Before we get started, I'd love to see who's joining us and where you're from. So if you can go to your chat box on the right-hand side of your screen and just put your first name and where you're joining us from, I'd love to be able to welcome you. We also have our members of the family circle here, people who get to join Sara Chana every single week. So if you just write member next to your name, I'd like to be able to welcome you as a member as well. So welcome Dove from Jerusalem, and Adel from Brantford, Priscilla from El Paso, Rosie from Israel, Devorah from New York, who's a member, welcome, Anna from Vancouver, Avia from New York, Nomi from Jerusalem, Ronnie from West Virginia, Sharon from California, Khani from New York, welcome, and Janine from Arkansas, welcome to you as well. Oh, this looks amazing. Just people from all over the world coming and joining us, and people continue to flood in. So let me get to a few more. Rachel from New Jersey, welcome. Evelyn, you are here and signed in, so welcome to you as well. And Linda from Texas. It is so great to see all of these people from, as I said, all over the world. And as people continue to flood in, I would like to just say welcome, welcome to all. Here's Zipporah from Lakewood, welcome. It's wonderful to have all of you, and we are likely to hit capacity, so please don't leave in the middle. I would hate to have you miss any of today's class, and oftentimes when we hit capacity and you leave, then you can't get back in. So please stick around with us. We've got a lot to go over. Welcome Faggy from New York and Sippy from Queens, and everyone else who continues to come in. Over the past 3 years, Sara Chana has brought her expertise in parenting and relationships to our Jewish Workshops community. And today, Sara Chana is going to introduce a brand new topic that people have been requesting for ages. We are going to begin exploring the potential of Bach flower remedies, learn about the history and the use of these remedies, and discover how Dr. Edward Bach's mind-body theories and how he felt the remedies could help relieve emotional stress of any kind. Since Sara Chana is a certified Bach flower practitioner, she will uncover for us how recent developments in energy psychology, alternative and integrative medicine, mindfulness meditation, and other mind-body tools have helped people around the world to ease anxiety and stress and balance emotions such as anger, sadness, and fear in themselves and their loved ones. So please make sure to stay on the line until the very end to hear about the one-time chance to join Sara Chana week after week for a full live online program at a special discounted rate for all attendees. Plus, we've had hundreds of questions come in ahead of time, and we will get to as many as possible live on the line. We would also love to hear from you today, so go ahead and put your questions into the chat box. We will do our best to get to as many as we can after the class. And again, we can keep you anonymous if you choose, so please don't worry about that. It is truly an honor to be hosting Sara Chana Radcliffe today, a registered member of the College of Psychologists of Ontario. Sara Chana has been practicing marriage, parenting, and individual counseling for over 40 years. Sara Chana is a well-sought-after lecturer on stress management, parenting, anger management, and emotional well-being. She is also the author of Raise Your Kids Without Raising Your Voice, The Fear Fix, Make Yourself at Home, and 5 other books on family life and emotional well-being. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone right over to you, Sara Chana. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll get started now.
Perfect.
Yeah, good. Okay. So this is a first for me, actually, to do a full-length and in-depth course on Bach flower remedies. I have done, single sessions and introduced people to the concept, which they can pursue it further. But my intention now, and kicking off with today's special lecture, is to really allow you, if you're interested, to know enough about this modality that you could really use it for yourself for the rest of your life and for your loved ones to ease difficult emotional situations. The way you feel, the stress you carry, as Jillian had said, the anxiety, the mood, the irritability, the things that make us unhappy and uncomfortable in ourselves. And we are certainly used to using other kinds of strategies to help ourselves through negative emotions and pain, psychological pain. A lot of us will consult a therapist. We're going to talk to somebody. We're going to try and work it through. We may do specialized techniques in therapy to help release stress and pain. Some of us will go to a medical practitioner and we'll get psychotropic medications to take the feelings down and to level ourselves off and function better, be able to think clearer. Those things we are used to. Now, some of us already know that there are actually more things that could be done and can be done. There are all sorts of alternative and complementary and integrative. Those words all mean the same thing to me. This means like not regular medicine types of interventions that we can use. And in that group, there are Bach flower remedies, which I'm going to talk about what they are first, and then we'll sort of see where they fit into the world of complementary medicine, and then where they fit into the world of psychotropic medication and psychotherapy and the other interventions that we still will use for certain states of emotion, let's call it, okay, and mental health for sure. So first we'll start with what is Bach flower therapy. And a lot of people picture something that's actually closer to essential oils and herbal medicine when they think of Bach flowers. They think of flowers and they wonder whether they might be allergic to the plants that are used in the preparation of Bach flower remedies. And they maybe imagine that they're going to have a tincture that has a physical substance in it. Well, interestingly, I'm going to hold up for you if you can see this. This is a bottle of Bach flower remedies, and in this bottle is liquid. And that liquid is mostly water. Actually, in the original bottle that I'm showing you here, this one is by it says on it, I don't know if you can see this, Bach, okay, B-A-C-H. There's also a question about how his name is pronounced, because for a while there, some people were saying Bach, some people say Bach. They say it like there's a composer, I think, Bach, composer of music, and I think it's pronounced the same way for most people around the world. But anyways, that's what we're talking about, B-A-C-H. And the reason why that's a bottle of water is because there's no flour in it. There's no, there's nothing ground up in like we do in herbal medicine where you take a plant and you pulverize it. It's not like in homeopathic medicine where you take a plant or in some kind of other substance and you dilute it, and it's very, very, very minuscule, but the molecules are like still exist in the liquid. There's nothing pulverized or crushed or mixed here. It's just water. So the water, a Bach flower remedy is prepared by putting the head of a flower in a bowl of water and setting that water in the sun. And then the head of the flower, after a few hours, is removed from the water, and that leaves water. Okay, so really what a Bach flower remedy is and why it's so harmless for us really is that it's water. I know you have a bunch of questions coming in, like if it's water, what kind of water is it that we're bothering to talk about it today, but I'll explain that in a minute. The water is put in a bottle, and because you can't just leave water in a bottle, apparently it gets bacteria, germs, things grow in it or whatever. There is also something added to the bottle to prevent bacteria and stuff from growing, and that in the Bach flower preparation is unflavored brandy. Okay, it could be vodka, it could be whiskey, it could be apple cider vinegar, which would give it a very intense flavor. But that's basically a preservative to the water. So, and it's a very tiny, 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 tiny amount that anybody will be getting of, let's say, that brandy, because of the way a Bach flower remedy is taken, which I'm going to explain as we go further. Actually, towards the end, I'm going to really give you the details of how the remedy is taken. But brandy doesn't really figure into how much, like, what you're getting there. That's why even a baby or a person who normally cannot take alcohol can often take Bach flowers, or usually take Bach flowers. This because unless you have um, a complete zero absolute allergy to brandy or something like that, you're not getting brandy per se in your bottle. You're getting water. And again, it's going to be highly diluted. I'm going to show you how, because that's just what was in your Bach flower remedy that you purchased from your health food store, or maybe you purchased it online, or maybe you got it from Amazon, or you got it from, there's lots of places that sell Bach flower on the computer. There are some in places, I mean, Bach flowers are actually sold all around the world and have been for almost 100 years. They're not a new thing on the market. And Dr. Bach prepared them his way, but since he came on the scene, other people have also, companies and individual people have prepared flower remedies, or sometimes they're called flower essences, in their own way in many, many different places. There's hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of flower essences on the market. Dr. Bach, who developed this line, put 38 remedies in his system, and one pre-mixed remedy, which we're going to discuss again towards the end of today's discussion. So, just before I go further, I'm a little curious. How many of you have actually used a Bach flower preparation already, or have been close to somebody who used one, or have used rescue remedy, perhaps not even realizing that it was part of this larger system? Could you just write in the chat box if you have any personal experience already with Bach flowers? So give me an idea. And I know a lot of you are not on live with me right now, so I don't, many of you will see this later, but of those who are here, could you let us know, but just say me, or I have some experience, or me is good enough for you. Yes.
Yes, it says yes. Yes, I have. I've used rescue remedy. Yes, I have never used it. No, my sister actually has used it for her daughter. I tried it when I read your daily parenting post. Me, yes, I've used it. Used it for a very cranky baby. My mother used rescue remedy at my wedding. Yes,
that's a good idea.
I've
we'll talk
used
about
it,
that,
and it was
more
very
later.
successful. No, I haven't tried it yet. I've always wanted to try them.
So we have some yeses and some nos. Okay, good. I want to say one more thing about the brandy, just for those of you who might be kosher consumers and would normally want kosher certification on the brandy that is being put into this remedy. This remedy is considered a medicine, and there are laws of when you're following the laws of kashrut that pertain to this. You can always, of course, consult with your own rabbi. But on my website, sarahchanaradcliffe.com, if you look for the section on Bach flowers, and then just go down to Bach flowers for the kosher consumer, you're going to see what Rabbi Pesach Eliyahu Falk has told me in his answers to the questions I've asked on Bach flowers. So I don't know if there's 20 questions there, 20 or more, I don't know. There's a number of questions there about the details of Bach flowers. The bottom line is that Bach flower remedies are not considered a food. Okay, and they're considered a medicine. For that reason, they fall into a different category. But please read up on that yourself and follow it yourself to your satisfaction, if that's a concern of yours. So Bach flowers, we said, are water. So now we're going to say, like, how can water help us? We're drinking water all day long, and we're not necessarily feeling happier, calmer, more stress relief, or anything like that. But there's something that happens when the flower has been heated. Most of the remedies have been heated just with sunlight, but some of them have actually been heated in water on a stovetop, like an element, and the water is brought to heat and the flower's in there. And again, the flower is removed. There's no flower in it, and that's why you would not be allergic to Bach flowers. Like there's one called walnut, for example. If you were allergic to walnuts, you would not be allergic to the Bach flower remedy. There's no walnut in it, okay? Although going to say it like you should talk to your allergy doctor and confirm that. Okay, I'm not speaking here as a doctor. I'm speaking as a Bach practitioner, which means that from what we are taught, there's nothing to react to and nobody ever reacts. And these products, having been around for, like I said, almost 100 years, I think that we would hear about it if people did have reactions. They are considered to be, for example, helpful in pregnancy. And a lot of people use them for the hormonal experiences that go on during pregnancy and so on. And they feel better and healthier. And again, there's nothing ever being reported in terms of negative side effects. To the body, Bach flowers are water on the physical level. So if you can take water, you can take Bach flowers. But I'm going to refer all of you to your allergist and to your doctors and to your naturopaths for the final answer on all of this. Okay, so that's it. I'm not. That's what I'm going to refer you to do. Okay, now, so it's not a physical remedy. It's actually called a vibrational remedy. And here, if you want to learn about vibrational remedies, I don't know if you've seen this book. Okay, this is here, Vibrational Medicine by Dr. Richard Gerber, who is a medical doctor. He's an MD, all right? And I just held up the 3rd edition, but I do believe there's a 4th edition by now. There might be a 5th edition, I'm not sure. But Dr. Gerber's book is one of the few books that I know of that really explains or gives a theory, at least, of why any of the vibrational medicines would work. And other things that are vibrational, let me just see in his index, because we'll just give you an example of vibrational medicine. If I can find his list of things here. Acupuncture is considered one, anything meridian-based or chakra-based, yoga. Let's see, the flowers and herbs have certain kinds of things. Crystals, so some people use crystals in the way that we use Bach flower remedies. They can also create crystal remedies, and in places like England, I think they're easily available and people use those. Anyways, there's lots of this, there's electromagnetic, well, no, I don't want to read that. I'm not going to read any more of this. The index of this book is actually fascinating, and I do recommend that you read it, okay, if you want to know like kind of a theory, a science that might be able to explain why these things work, okay? Now, I know some of you saw a little video clip of me that was part of the promotion for this webinar where I explained my take on why these things work. Well, not why they work, but my feeling about needing to know why they work. And basically, I'm kind of a person who doesn't need to know why everything works before I use it, okay? I have no idea why my cell phone does the miracle things that it does. And as I said, when I come into the room and switch on a light, the lights come on and, everything works in the room. The heater comes on, and I know there's an explanation for all these things, but I don't need to know the explanation for me to be willing to flip that light switch on. If I see the lights come on, then I'm good. And that's how I personally feel about Bach flowers. But if you need to understand, because different people are different, some people say like, well, until I really get what's going on here, I'm not going to use this stuff and any of this stuff, right? So this kind of reminds me of a little bit of what happened in the field of energy psychology altogether, where in the 1990s, training in energy psychology became available. And this might be a course that we'll do later in the future if you follow along, and perhaps some of you will sign up to the family circle where we're continuing to learn weekly on this slot, Thursdays. There's a class every Thursday, so I'm sure we're going to get to energy psychology also. But anyways, in the 1990s, this came out as a method for relieving deep trauma, helping people with profound anxiety, lifting dark moods, and all sorts of things. And the whole treatment of energy psychology was considered extremely weird, even weirder than Bach flowers, because in a way, we're used to taking things. We take pills, we take tinctures, to take a Bach flower, it's got a different name, but we're used to it, and with the energy psychology, it was like tap on your body, and we weren't used to that. And what I saw with that was that when I first learned it, And I was one of the first people in Canada to learn it because the trainings had just come out and people were not interested, but I was. But anyways, for my own reasons. But anyways, I'll tell you that another time, the story of that. But anyways, the effect was so immediate and so profound on me that even though there was no research, it was not yet evidence-based. There was no explanation for why it worked. I mean, it just worked. So I was an early adopter, shall we say. And then over the next 20 years, the research has come in on energy psychology, and it's something now that's endorsed by the American Psychological Association as an evidence-based treatment. So they're agreeing, yes, over large numbers of people, it seems to work. It works. It relieves people of things. But the explanation for why energy psychology works is kind of, there's one fellow, I'm blocking on his name right now, but he's it'll come to me at some point. But anyways, he's written some books. David Feinstein, I think, has written a bunch of books with theories of why energy psychology works. But like Dr. Richard Gerber, there's a book and there's a theory. But I think we're going to know a lot more in the coming years about why these things work. And we're going to see how other people think about this too. How did they get invented? Well, if you know how they get invented, you really begin to wonder like about why we should use these things, because the whole story that Dr. Bach tells and that is told about Dr. Bach is, I have to say, if there's a word airy-fairy that we used when I was a kid, I don't know, I don't know what word they use for it now because I'm a lot older there, but I'm sure there's some word that means like crazy, cuckoo. He was, I know that Dr. Bach, when he was young, he had a serious cancer. They gave him 3 months to live. I know that he used his own remedies and managed to live 19 years longer. And his interest, interestingly, was not psychology and stress per se. It was physical health. He was an internist. He was a medical doctor. They call him on Harley Street in England or London, England, whatever it is. He was a regular doctor, but he was interested in holistic medicine before his time. Now, Dr. Bach died in 1936. So, before the modern movement towards seeing the mind and body and energy system all work together, he was into it, and he was an intuit. Okay, so there's like INTUIT, meaning he felt things. He could feel energies, and that whole concept was very weird to me when I was younger. Feeling energies, I don't know. It just sounded very lame to me. Okay, I knew about Bach flowers myself because I had friends when I was younger who were using them, and I didn't understand them, and I just thought my friends and the remedies were just weird. That's it. Okay, so I didn't pay much attention, really. And also, I did know a little bit about Dr. Bach's story about how he was looking for mind-body treatments, and he used his intuition here to come across the flowers. He could feel what the flowers' energy was and what emotions it addressed, and I don't know. It doesn't sound what we would call scientific, except if you want to say by personal experiment, he tried this and he tried that and found something or other on himself. I don't know. I can't seriously talk about his story. So you can read it and you can see what you think. I think the other thing that we have a problem with in Bach flowers is, besides the story being weird, there's very little research on Bach flower remedies even today. So there are a few things that have been done, but usually very small groups of people, and I cannot imagine how they standardized any research study other than the one, I'm going to read you one about rescue remedy soon, because the rescue remedy is at least a particular Bach flower remedy. But as you'll see when we're talking, every person who uses Bach flower remedies is actually using a unique mixture for themselves. So it's not like taking Prozac, let's say, which is a standard pill, and giving it to people who say that they have a certain quality of mood and seeing whether that mood improves. Because every single person may have 5 or 6 different remedies in the bottle that they're taking. which I'll explain to you as we go further. Okay, so I don't know how the research would be done, to tell you the truth, but whatever research has been done, it's probably mostly done on rescue remedy itself, and the numbers of people involved are very small, and there has nothing conclusive. If you look it up online, you'll see some things that's saying, Bach flowers show some small positive result for this or that. I'm going to read you one of those. And another, a bunch of things saying Bach flowers have no effect stronger than the placebo effect. I think that is interesting that that's the finding that I most often see, because placebo effect is a pretty good effect, which we're going to talk about. We'll talk about that soon. But anyways, I'm going to say that as far as scientific literature goes, at this point, we cannot say that Bach flowers work. And nor can we say, based on the scientific literature, that they don't work, because we don't have enough scientific literature. And I'm wondering actually who would be prepared to invest a lot of money in that research, because most of the research we have on, let's say, psychotropic medication is research that will benefit a drug company. Like they'll put a lot of research into it with huge groups of people, not because they're curious about what works in the universe, but because they're hoping to produce a drug that will be quite financially lucrative. So that's another problem as far as Bach flowers go. It's like, who's going to put a whole lot of money into doing the research that would tell us what's really going on there? When there's no financial gain for the person doing it. Bach flowers are just available on the market for anybody to buy at their local health food store today. It's an over-the-counter product. Okay. So if no research saying they don't work, no research saying they do work, then why are we going to spend all this time on Bach flowers today? So I'm going to say that there is anecdotal evidence, meaning individual people will say that their Bach flowers have helped them a lot, or clinical evidence, meaning individual practitioners say that they see that it benefits people, or personal evidence, meaning I conducted the experiments on myself and I found that I was better off from taking the Bach flower remedies. Okay, that's the kind of evidence we have, and I will definitely be inviting you to be the scientist in this case and to try them. But when you try them, you need to give them a fair trial, your own proper scientific trial, if you will. So we're going to just talk about what's involved in that as well. So now, one second. This is a study I want to share with you. There was a study. This was done at the University of Miami. I'm going to just read this off my screen, so excuse my eyes dropping down a bit. But the Miami School of Nursing, in conjunction with the Sirkin Creative Living Center. Now, this study was on rescue remedy, and I'm going to just read what it says, a little synopsis. A scientific study has suggested that rescue remedy, an all-natural remedy created from flower essences, is an effective over-the-counter stress reliever with a comparable effect to traditional pharmaceutical drugs, yet without any of the known adverse side effects, including addiction. The result of this independent study is not only welcome news for those of us who encounter stressful situations every day, but particularly for the 40 million Americans who suffer from physician-diagnosed anxiety, said Ronald Strom, MD, who regularly prescribes rescue remedy to his anxious and stressed patients. Quote, stress compromises your ability to fight off disease and infection, and it can even rewire the brain, making you more vulnerable to everyday pressures and problems, unquote. This study specifically examined the use of rescue remedy for the reduction of acute situational stress. A double-blind clinical trial comparing a standard dosage of rescue remedy against a placebo of identical appearance was conducted in a sample of 101 individuals aged 18 to 49. The Spielberger State Trait Anxiety Inventory, which was a standard means to evaluate anxiety, was administered before and after the use of rescue remedy or placebo. The results suggested that rescue remedy may be effective in reducing high levels of situational anxiety, and the results were published in Complementary Health. Bach flower essences fall into the realm of complementary. Okay, I think actually that's the end of what the quote was. Okay, now, let's just see what else. I mean, there's lots of things you can find like that. Here's one more thing just about anecdotal evidence. This is by Ron Hansen, who's a veterinarian. Okay, and this is what he wrote. Most of the information I'm presenting in this article is based upon anecdotal evidence because it's not based upon statistical research and the scientific method. Anecdotal evidence is often dismissed by the scientific community, yet the following is a prime example of the role and importance that it does play. As early as the 1700s, sailors were fed limes as a way of preventing scurvy. This practice was based solely on anecdotal evidence. It wasn't until 1932 and the discovery of vitamin C that the scientific method was able to prove why limes and other citrus fruits helped prevent and cure scurvy. Fortunately, no one stopped the sailors from eating limes because the scientists had not completed a study demonstrating that eating limes cures physical and cure scurvy. Okay, fine. All right, I think, I just want to kind of clear up this idea that, that we shouldn't use it because it's nonsense. Again, I'll just refer you to yourself. You prove that that's nonsense for yourself. So the question here now is about placebo, which I want to look at for a moment. Now, placebo has been researched. It's becoming increasingly researched because we see that the placebo effect is the effect of the body turning on its own healing as a result of belief. Interestingly, okay, I'll say as a result of belief because I'll modify that in a minute. So if you think that you've got a medicine or a surgery, a treatment, an intervention that is supposed to help you cure some physical or emotional disorder, that belief itself can turn on real healing in your body so that in some people, tumors will shrink, knees will heal, the immune system will be boosted. Well, all sorts of things have been shown to happen as a result of this belief alone. But the interesting thing is that even when you know that there's research studies now that show that even when you know that you're taking a placebo, even that can help you do better. Okay, in other words, if you label a bottle placebo and you take pills out of that bottle, which are sugar pills, or they're nothing, they're candy, they're M&Ms or something. You're taking them, and you've labeled it placebo. Even that, interestingly, has been shown to lead to improvement in physical or emotional conditions, and in research studies. Okay, now they're just beginning to look at the power of placebo. If Bach flowers were working on the placebo effect, meaning there's nothing in the remedy itself, it's just the idea of the remedy that causes us to heal, that wouldn't bother me. Just like I don't care why the light comes on. Maybe it's a figment of my imagination that the light comes on when I turn the switch on, but for me, it's on, So I would say that if I heal, if something has fooled my brain and body into healing, good for it. As long as I'm healing, as long as my heart is no longer rapidly beating, and my palms are not sweating, what do I care how that happened, right? So none of that bothers me. I don't know if it bothers you. I do doubt that placebo is the factor, though, and the reason for that is because animals respond to Bach flowers, and they're not open to suggestion. So I know. I know that animals respond. I had a cat once who responded like she was like whatever. She had some shaking condition, and I put rescue remedy in her water, and that shaking stopped immediately as she took little sips of that water. Her body went off. She didn't know what was in her water, so that was that. The there's an industry that I think they use Bach flowers to help transport cattle, various places, again, specifically in countries that use the remedies seriously. And there are many countries in the world that do use these remedies like medicine, okay? Like I've certainly had clients come to me from every part of the world where their cardiologist or their rheumatologist or their pediatric neurologist had prescribed Bach flowers for the condition of that they or their child was suffering from. And so these things are taken seriously, even though in North America and in some countries you may be living, Bach flowers are considered to be kind of just I don't know, they're nothing, nothing in particular, if that. Okay, so so animals and babies and toddlers and people who don't know they're getting the remedies do respond to Bach flowers. Although Dr. Bach felt that we shouldn't give people, certainly not adults, the remedies without their knowledge. And there may be some spouse you want to help. I don't know. Oh, we'll talk about that more seriously later. And by the way, okay, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about later. For those of you who want this in-depth information, please, take the 6-week course that we're going to be doing because we're going to get a lot more information. One of the things also that has shown me excuse me, the power, I'm just going to take a drink for a second, the real power of Bach flower remedies is my experience in treating people with Tourette's disorder and tic disorders. Now, um, those are neurological conditions. They are aggravated by stress and anxiety, but they're not caused by stress or anxiety. They're just a brain thing that some people are prone to. A lot of kids around the age of 7 to 9 will get tic disorders. And those of you who are listening who have a child with this, like, take this really seriously, because this is an amazing thing that this is, to me, my proof of the effectiveness of this intervention. Um, you know, the first thing that happened to me early in my days of, oh, I didn't tell you, I think some, early in my days of practicing, okay, I'm going to go backwards. Let me go backwards for a second, and I'll come up to this about the Tourette's, all right? I know some of you know this story, but how did I get into Bach flowers? I thought my friends were wacky and so on. One of my kids, when he was little, had a phobia of robbers. I won't go too into it because I know some of you know this story, but anyways, nothing cured his fear, and it went on for 2 years, and it grew and grew and grew, a kind of like a obsessional overthing, which was disturbing his nights and his mornings and his days, and was actually disturbing my husband and myself and the whole family too, because we had never been robbed, but he was terrified. And a practicing psychologist at the time, I certainly tried every cognitive behavioral intervention, every normal thing I would have done for any client, a few abnormal things, lots of attempted placebos and suggestions. And eventually I put him on a waiting list for a psychiatrist because I just could not get anywhere with it. But during that time when we were on this long waiting list before the appointment came up, I don't remember why, but I recalled that Bach flowers had something for phobias. And that's a particular remedy called Mimulus, Mimulus. I went to the health food store, I purchased it. I put it in his water one night without telling him, and he woke up the next morning. And this fear, which had been plaguing him and us for 2 years, was gone. Finished, never heard of it again. The effect was so dramatic. And I thought, okay, forget it. I'm not practicing psychology anymore. That was useless. I'm going to become a Bach flower practitioner. In the end, I decided to keep my psychological practice going. But I did become a Bach flower practitioner immediately. I signed up for training, and I began to use it. This brings me to the Tourette story, okay? So really, in the early months of using it, somebody came by my office and said that their kid had Tourette's, and they had taken this child to neurologists and pediatricians and doctors all over North America, and unfortunately nobody could help him. And they heard that I have something. I thought, I don't know. They didn't even bring the kid with. I don't know. I did a assessment, as we do in Bach flowers, and sent them home with a remedy. And something pretty similar to what happened to my son happened to this child. Tourette's is vocal and motor tics, okay? Blinking and coughing and moving uncontrollably. And it can be very, very severe. And this kid had one of those cases, and it went away with the treatment. And then I knew that, oh, we could try Bach flowers with other people. And over the years, I have many, many, many parents and children treating their children, or many adults, because it doesn't matter how long you've had a tic disorder. When you start with Bach flower therapy, I have had a tremendously positive result. Now, Bach flower therapy, like surgery or like medicine, like Tylenol or anything, doesn't work for every single person every single time. But it works enough that it's managed to stay on the market, for all this time, all across all these countries, and it helps most people most of the time. Okay, so you can't guarantee that any intervention will help all the people. It's just like, does it help a lot of people? Yes. Okay. Does it help a lot of people with tic disorders? Absolutely. Almost everybody I've treated has responded to this. Okay. Now, there are details that you need to know to make it work. If you're seriously going to treat yourself or a family member, please join us for the course so that you'll know exactly what to do. All right. This is just kind of why to do it today. We're like, why we should even try. All right. So now, when can we use Bach flowers? Would you just put in the chat box if you have had like a story worth telling, like a little bottom line, like what did you use it for that it worked for? Okay, this is I want to know, those of you who have had what you call success, what did it help you for? Could you just put that down, and Jillian will read us a little bit of your responses to see what did you find it worked for? And while I'm waiting for a few of those to come in, I'll just say generally, we can use them for our children. We can use them for ourselves and for our parents. We can use them for any age person in pretty well any health condition. They are normally taken internally. You're dropping liquid in water, or you're dropping Bach flowers in a liquid, which we'll talk again about the details in a few minutes, but you don't have to. You can drop them on your skin, right on your pulse points, on your head. There's actually a school of thought saying that there's better places and worse places on the body to get most your effect. There's just different opinions on that, but you can certainly drop them on your body. And so anybody can use them. We use them when we're physically unwell in order to treat the emotional state of discouragement, of fear, stress, whatever it is we're dealing with at the time we become physically unwell, and when we're emotionally not happy, like, any state where we're just not completely in flow, when we're stressed because we're doing something new or something important, we're just anxious, or we're ruminating, or anything when we're off balance, just not feeling well. So
Okay,
a
so we
drop.
have some.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
yes, I forgot about you. Thank you. I forgot to ask. Okay,
No,
go
it's
ahead.
fine. I just we have it helps with marital issues, helped a chassan before his wedding. I find it helps with anxiety, fear, and clarity. It helps with negative thoughts. Used rescue remedy for bruising, rescue remedy before flying. It helps a friend overcome her fear of flying. This one also used the Bach night for stress relief. Tried it on my grandson, and I'm a great believer. Sorry, I'm looking for more here. Fear of terror or losing the home in the divorce situation. I felt suddenly relaxed, and it felt much better. Calming an anxious, ailing cat. And then there's a lot of other questions about uses, if it can be used for other things. So I think we'll probably get to that
soon.
Perfect.
We'll get to the questions. Okay, good. Yes, and in order to gain the effects of Bach flowers, we don't need to take them forever. So they're not like psychotropic medication in that sense. If we're having a low mood, we've had a bad year, whatever, when we or a bad week or bad month or bad day, we take the remedies until we're feeling better, and then we don't take them. So we're taking them off and on for our various conditions, but we tend to fall into the same state over and over again according to our personality. So as we're taking the remedies, let's say we tend to get irritable whenever. Okay, when we take Bach flower remedies during that irritable time, then over time we will fall into irritability less and less often, even though we're not taking them all the time. We're only taking them when we're irritable. And over time, we can outgrow the irritability. That's what it looks like. And I think some of you saw another video clip where I talk about something called epigenetic healing, which is a healing where it looks like our inborn natural state has healed. It's gone. So there's a story I think I wrote up in my book, The Fear Fix, in the chapter on Bach flowers, about a gentleman who was middle-aged already and had a blushing condition, just for example. But I mentioned it because he's middle-aged, okay? He's had the blushing condition his whole life and had tried many things. And this would particularly plague him when he had to give a presentation at work, and he would turn beet red. And this was a horrible condition for people to have. So he had tried public speaking classes and hypnotherapy. He had tried rescue remedy. He had tried a lot of things, but rescue remedy wasn't the right remedy for this. And I want to say that although rescue remedy is amazing, I have a few minutes to talk about that, it's not a cure-all. Okay, you have to know the right remedies. I said there's 38 Bach flower remedies, and over those 38, they are a cure-all, but we have to know which ones to use. So I made this gentleman the right remedy for him. And that's it. It cured his blushing remedy. So it looked like he outgrew it at age 45 or whenever he started to take them, right? This is very common. It doesn't matter when you start to take them. So if you've had your tic disorder, for example, and you're now 50 years old, it will still help you. That's not, it'll make it go away and you'll look like you outgrew it at last, So with Bach flowers were meant to be used by Dr. Bach by every member of the family for normal things that come up in life. For example, whenever we're not in that ideal state, and his thing was to take stress off the body so that we would stay strong physically and healthy, and it would be good for our immune system. And that was his thing. So if you're moving houses, moving countries, switching jobs, your child is leaving home for the first time, going away to school or to get married or whatever. So that's called change. Okay, the Bach remedies to help us go through change. Sometimes we know we're prone to hormonal imbalances up and down during the month, before pregnancy, during menopause, whatever. Most of the life of a woman is wacko. Okay, so Bach flowers can be used during those times of emotional upheaval to balance out, be normal, and reduce those times, right, going forward in the future. It's like a bottle of sunshine, so to speak. It does not change our personality in any way. It just makes us, it restores us to the way we are on one of our good days when the weather is good and life is working well, and the way we are under those circumstances, like when we're happy with something. So very often when a person starts using Bach flower remedies for the first time, they feel like, oh, it wasn't, I don't think it was the remedy. It's just that, I got an A+ on that test, or I got the job I was looking for. And yeah, the person took the remedies before the job interview to calm the nervousness, or like people taking a flight, we said. Or for your regular phobias or your fears or your anxieties, your worries about your children, your worries about your family members, your worries about yourself and your health, all these things, whatever we're worrying about, for sure, whatever is on our mind in an unpleasant way, whether it's ruminating about things that happened, or feeling insulted or hurt or diminished or whatever we feel. You'll see, I think I have a few case histories coming up to just describe this. We use them for life, okay? They're not addictive. We don't crave them. We don't want them. When we've had enough of them, we've had enough of them. But they can help us with our cravings and our addictions, because we're going to be more balanced. And that always puts our cravings and addictions in a better place. They're useful. Some people go like, oh, I don't want my child to be taking something from a bottle. Now, I'm going to show you. This is a bottle, a Bach bottle. This is the remedy we bought from the store. And this is a mixing bottle that we might put it in, okay? So, because we might mix a few remedies together and might give that to our child. And some people say, oh, I don't want my child to take anything because then he's going to take drugs when he gets older. He's always going to be reaching for the pill box or the drug thing. And I say this about that. I say, if a child knows that there's something healthy and good to take when you're feeling bad emotionally, under the weather emotionally, stressed, overwrought, unhappy, when he knows there's something good to take, he'll take that. But if you don't introduce the child to something like that, then what he'll take is whatever his friends are taking, the alcohol that they discovered in the adolescence that works really well to make them feel chilled, or the drugs that they discover to make them feel happy, or the horrible addictions and compulsions and the cutting and whatever they do to make themselves feel balanced. Your child will find a way to feel better, as teenagers and people all over the world do, when they don't have good choices. I said before, we talk about, like, where does this fit in with therapy and medication and all this stuff, like the antidepressant drugs, the anti-anxiety drugs. And it fits in where we're, I just want to see, because I think I wrote up exactly a thing where I just checking my notes here, 1 second. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to talk more actually in detail about in the upcoming course, exactly when you know when to take a remedy and when to take some other treatment. Okay, so we're going to be looking at that actually next week in the first class. I think we're looking at that. Oh yes, I'm just trying to remember what I prepared, and that's what I prepared. So, but for now, I'm going to say that when we take remedies, it doesn't mean that we don't need to look at ourselves and improve our character and work on our issues and continue to work on our anger. It actually just means it's going to be a lot easier to do that. Just for example, in the case, one of the case histories I wrote down was about toilet training, where you have a toddler who's born anxious, born with the anxious genes. Mom has those genes and grandmom has those genes and everybody in the family has those genes. And this kid just freaks out when he has to have a bowel movement on the toilet and he's already 3 years old. So, he has to be trained for school. It's becoming like a crisis in the family. Get this kid into regular underwear. But you try to have him have a bowel movement on the toilet and he has a meltdown. So just, a typical scenario would be that I would recommend a particular mixture of the remedies for the child based on his personality, on his style, and his reaction. And we'd stop all the toilet training efforts for about a week and just give him this remedy. And then while he's still on the remedy, continue the following week to start with the training, whatever regular toilet training process that we're doing. Now, it will turn out almost invariably that the child will now be able to overcome his panic and learn how to have his, do his business in the right place at the right time. So what happened there is it became easier for him to learn. Same thing when mom's trying to teach a child who has meltdowns all the time, a few self-regulation skills. Yes, you have to teach somebody self-regulation skills, how to use words instead of punching your brother out, or how to use the right words instead of screaming at your mother, so you do have to teach a child. But when the child's genetic mix is that he's very impulsive and strong, and he's got traits that just like make it hard for him to control himself, it's really hard to teach him. So what we want to do is get some of those temperamental things balanced out a little bit better and then teach him. So use Bach flowers for a week and then go and have your training session on how we should say things and do things, okay? So Bach flowers can make it a downhill movement to your self-improvement or your professional improvement strategies. Whatever other strategies you're using, you can go downhill with it. And I believe in many cases in Europe, they actually use Bach flowers to help people wean off of psychotropic medications when the time is right. This is a discussion I have with the doctor, not with me, but I'm just saying that people can sometimes transition off of heavier duty medications that do have side effects onto the kind of less problematic side effect-wise strategy of using Bach flowers. Somebody said Bach flowers helps in marriage. I have certainly seen a few marriages that lasted because one of the partners had been unable to control temper. They were pretty well abusive, like just horrible flare-ups. And when that person took Bach flower remedies, those things just faded away completely, and the couple lived happily ever after. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I have seen it, okay? You trust me, don't you? But yes, I've actually seen that a number of times in my practice where the Bach flowers made a huge difference in the person's overall temperament. Health anxiety, where somebody is constantly worried that, their headache is a tumor, their twitching is multiple sclerosis. They're like everything is something deadly or very, very serious, and they suffer a lot from running to doctors and feeling anxious about themselves or their family members. Bach flower therapy has been very successful in my practice here on helping people overcome what they call health anxiety and just feeling more normal and being able to cope. Does it always work? No, nothing always works, okay? It's a good first shot, okay? Stress, I'll give you this one as a last example. Just, there was a man who was very, very stressed due to a situation at work. It was situational, but his wife was worried that he was going to get a heart attack. Like he was not sleeping at night. He was having panic attacks. He was having explosive anger and chronic irritability and a state of just complete overwhelm. The pressure was so great for him. And on Bach flowers, the right mixture for him, he was able to negotiate that situation just as a normal person. It just brought it right down, and he was able to deal with it, although the situation itself was the same, okay? And that's just an example for stress. Bach flower system is meant to be easy to use and easy to learn, so that a person could pick up a book. I'm going to show you 2 books. This is a very big book, the Encyclopedia of Bach Flower Therapy. I like this one, the pictures, the stories, whatever it is. For serious people who really want to know what does a flower remedy potentially do, that's a really good book. And a shorter, like to the point book with a little list of you can, in this book, look up a condition and you'll get, on one page you get, like it says, to improve eye contact. And then it gives you a bunch of things, why the person might be needing to improve eye contact, and it gives you a bunch of suggestions. This book here, the Bach, what is it called? The Bach Flower Remedies. Okay, but since these books are written, because neither of these are new, they're quite old actually, there's lots more. Anybody can read a Bach flower book or go into a health food store and read the list of descriptions about the Bach flowers and start making a guess. Why is there somebody called a professional certified Bach flower practitioner like myself and many, many other people? Because we have a deeper understanding, more complex cases will have a faster resolution with somebody who is actually trained, but Bach flowers were meant to be user-friendly. You can certainly take a shot at it, and often you'll get good results. So it's definitely worth looking it up yourself and trying. And, if you just want it more targeted, faster, and somebody like myself who also practices psychology and has got depth of knowledge of the whole spread of thing is going to just be a little bit faster and more targeted for you, to consult. But this is no reason not to try Bach flowers. It's meant to be self-help. So read up. And to that end, when you're finished taking the course, for those of you who are going to take it for the next 6 weeks, you'll all be able to do excellent self-help for you and your family, okay? Then we can treat in one bottle up to 7 different conditions, okay? So usually a maximum of 7 different things going on. Sometimes we're only going to use one remedy, but we can use up to 7 different remedies, and that's why we use the mixing bottle, okay? We fill this up with water and the Bach flowers in a certain way, which you can read instructions online. There's a lot of online information as well, and you'll certainly learn how in the course. And then we take these remedies most commonly in liquid, as I said, but it could be hot coffee, it could be tea, it could be juice, water, cereal, anything liquid. And as I said before, it can be used on the body. The one thing I'm going to give you a quick little intro to, but we're going to go into this much more deeper, is Rescue Remedy. Rescue Remedy is sold where I live in the pharmacies, sometimes the food stores. Like it's just a regular thing on the shelf here, in addition to being in every health food store and certainly online everywhere. People know about it. They don't always realize it's part of the system of Bach flower therapies. And it is used for any adrenaline type shock to the system, the fight or flight response. And you have a pretty good chance that it will help you when you're experiencing fight or flight symptoms, or when you think you will be. So for example, you're going to an audition, you're auditioning for a part in a play, or you're a job interview, or a driver's test. Like you're going to be under pressure, you're going to be scrutinized, you're going to be examined, and the stakes are high. You would take Rescue Remedy before that. Or you're going on a long flight, and you know that you tend to get anxious, so you could take Rescue Remedy before the flight. And on the flight, you can take it as much as you want, and you'll have a pretty good chance at having a good result. When you know the specific Bach flowers and what they do, you can take them with Rescue Remedy to have an even better chance that you'll have an excellent result. Because for certain things, like people will take it for public speaking, and a lot of the times it'll calm the nervous system. But what they really need is another remedy with that to get rid of the fear altogether. When you'll know what to do, because I'm going to explain it later. Rescue Remedy is they ask here in the childbirth rooms in the hospitals, do you have Rescue Remedy with you? Because a lot of people bring that in for where they know they're going to be under stress, under pressure, or intense excitement. It's used when we're injured. If somebody falls down, you see they're bleeding, and you're the mother at home, take Rescue Remedy yourself quickly. Calm your nerves, give it to the child quickly. As you're dialing the ambulance, you'll both be in better shape for the stitches and whatever this is going to come next, okay? When something has happened, like you almost got hit by a car and your system is shaking, take Rescue Remedy. Or you've had surgery and your system is stressed, you take Rescue Remedy. That's the kind of thing, but we're going to study more of it and learn how we might use it. So in summary, I'm going to say, where does Bach Remedy, where could they fit into your life? If you're a human being, you can use Bach flower remedies to your great advantage. Okay, so Jillian, I think if you have questions from people, if anybody has comments or questions, we can take them now. A lot of what's on your mind will be answered in the upcoming course. I really hope that you'll join me to explore this in greater depth, because I happen to love this modality of helping ourselves.
Thank you so much. And we do have a bunch of questions that came in, so I'd like to get to as many as possible. In the meantime, I'm going to get to those questions, but I do want to just go ahead and let everybody know how they can continue on, because that was probably the biggest question that we've had. How do I continue with this course? And Sara Chana did mention several times that we will be going in depth into Bach flower remedies, so that you can not only come away with understanding what they are, but really understanding the value and all of the remedies that they offer. There were so many specific questions. Does it help with ADHD? Does it help with psoriasis? Does it help with stuttering? So we're going to get to those questions, but just know that throughout the next 6 weeks, Sara Chana will really be giving an in-depth look into everything that Bach flowers will do for you. So over the next 6 weeks in our course, you will learn how to handle short tempers and tall tempers, calming the angry spirit. That's going to be already in our very first week, followed by from sadness, grief, and despair to balance and joy. So we'll be dealing with all of those emotions and feelings and how to handle that. Healing low self-esteem, insecurity, and self-doubt, followed by resolving worry, panic, and fear. Then we're going to be talking about softening challenging traits, the poor loser, a paranoid or jealous type, those who have difficulty with changes and transition, needy, demanding, controlling, manipulative types, those suffering from neediness, immaturity, impulsivity, or procrastination, and those who just can't say no, and many other personality traits. And then in week 6, other emotions and stuck states. And then obviously we'll be getting a little bit more in depth of rescue remedy. And I know that that was probably the number one Bach flower remedy that people have already tried. So to learn more about that and really understand the depth of what it can do will be really important for you going forward. And then finally, after those full 6 weeks, we will have 2 one-hour Q&As just to make sure that all of the questions that you have, you'll have the chance to get those answered so that we can really make sure that you are being walked hand in hand throughout this journey. Each ongoing class will be live and interactive. So during each class, you will also be able to get some questions answered while, again, staying completely anonymous if you choose. And they will all be taking place on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Israel time. And again, our first class starts just this coming week, Thursday, July 18th. So make sure to mark your calendars. But don't worry if you can't make it to the live classes. If those times don't work for your schedule, then you will always have a recording available to you by Sunday. And you will have those recordings available for a lifetime. So once you are part of the course, you will be able to listen to the recordings, either re-listen or listen for the first time as many times as you'd like. You can download them, you can take you can take notes, but we want to make sure that just even the people who aren't able to necessarily join the live classes, you'll still have the opportunity to get your questions answered. You can send those questions in via email, and we'll make sure to have them addressed during our 2 sessions of Q&A time. But that's not all. Not only will you have these 8 weeks of interactive classes, you'll also get the helping your child through anxious moments. Based on Sara Chana Radcliffe's The Fear Fix, this course will give you and your child tools for easing all kinds of anxious feelings, including worry, stress, panic, and fear. Appropriate for young children, teens, and adults, the material explored in this course will help the whole family enjoy greater peace of mind, better sleep, and more joy. So again, as Sara Chana explained in the beginning, Bach Flower Remedies is a wonderful companion to other tools needed and necessary to help us through especially anxious moments. I know that that is something that a lot of people face and a lot of children face. So not only will you be able to learn about which Bach remedies are going to be good for that, but you'll also have the tools to help walk your children through those anxious moments and how to deal with those on a teaching basis. Plus, you'll also get communicating your grievances, Confronting our loved ones with requests for change is never easy, but often necessary for true love, acceptance, and growth. Discover how to use positive reinforcement and patience during the rewiring process, and how to enable our loved ones to have a better understanding of how their behaviors impact our emotions and reactions. So as you can see, Sara will be walking you through various aspects of parenting and emotional well-being to ensure that you and your family are really set to thrive. You'll have one-on-one support throughout the program and will have the unique opportunity to get your personal questions answered that you haven't been able to get answered previously. But most importantly, by investing in yourself and your family now, you'll discover how creating the balance between the mind-body connection could contribute to emotional healing. The Bach flower formula that is tailored to meet your emotional needs and those of each of your family members. The history of these remedies and how they have been used in healing emotional challenges, and how recent developments in energy psychology, alternative and integrative medicine, mindfulness, meditation, and other mind-body tools have helped people around the world to ease anxiety, stress, and low moods. An opportunity like this rarely comes along, but we listened to our members' requests and put together this one-time offering from our one-of-a-kind mentor, Sara and our certified Bach remedy practitioner. So we are offering for a very reduced rate today of just 2 payments of $97. You'll get the full 8-week course plus the 2 bonuses, as I mentioned, for only 2 payments of $97. If you are already a Family Circle member, then this is part of your Family Circle membership, so congratulations. And if not, then as I will go ahead and put the link in your chat box right now, you can go to www.jewishworkshops.com/Bach-flowers. Let me put that again, www.jewishworkshops.com/Bach-flowers, one word, Bach-flowers. It's in your chat box. And let me go ahead and put that up onto your screen as well. So make sure to go ahead and secure your spot now. The spots are limited, and we want to make sure that everyone has the chance to get in if they are interested. As I mentioned, the price point on this is lower than any that we have done in the past 3 years. So make sure to grab your spot now. We wanted to give this as a very special discounted rate. 2 payments of $97 is all it's going to take. So if you go now to jewishworkshops.com/Bach-flowers, you will get your spot. If for any reason you're having difficulties registering or need some help, please just come on back and put your name and your telephone number right into the question box. We will make sure to give you a call and help you register right away. And of course, as soon as you do register on your own, please come back and put your name and the words "I'm in" so I can welcome you. And then we can also keep account of how many spots are filled already. So just your name and the words "I'm in," and I would love to be able to welcome you. Okay, Sara, I'd like to get to some of these questions. And if you have any questions, of course, about the course, please come back and let me know. There are lots of questions here, so let's try to get to as many as possible. Sorry, there were questions about it being safe for pregnancy. I know you briefly mentioned that, but is it totally safe during pregnancy? Can it be used during pregnancy?
Yes,
Is there?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you have, a queasiness about that, pregnant queasiness, you can put them on your pulse points. I think that when we understand that it's working differently than medicine, okay, like medicine and herbs and essential oils, they have medicinal effects on the body, and you really need to clear those things before you take them for in pregnancy, because they affect the physical processes of the development of the baby and so on. Bach flowers, if you want to compare it to what it's like, it's more a vibrational. I said it's a vibrational tool, a vibrational intervention, like the use of music. Okay, so can you listen to music safely during pregnancy? If you listen to the right kind of relaxing lullabies all day during pregnancy, will you feel better and calmer? Yes, it's an intervention. Can it hurt you or the baby? No. Okay, it's like that. Now, I have to refer you, if you're pregnant, to your practitioners. Okay, I'm telling you what I know, and as a Bach flower practitioner, this is how we're trained. But I'm not fooling around with anybody's pregnancy here. So if you're not comfortable taking it, or if you have questions, that further about this, ask somebody. And a lot of naturopaths, a registered naturopath, would be able to advise you because they're trained to understand the interaction between things. And this is another thing where Bach flowers don't interact with other modalities. Therefore, you can use Bach flowers when you're taking homeopathy, when you're using herbs, when you're doing when you're doing essential oils, when you're taking medicines. They don't interact. So you're in a better state of receptivity to everything because you're feeling better, but it's not a medical interaction. So that's what I'll say. Okay.
Thank you so much. I know that there were other questions about how long to take them. I guess I'm just going to clump a few together because they kind of go hand in hand.
Sure.
So I know that you had mentioned that you see results, or you can see results fairly quickly. Then how long do you continue to take the remedies for? Is there any type of addictive substances, or is there any type of addictive personalities that would then need to be taking it forever? And are there any side effects? So those were kind of the three that loop together.
These are all good questions. Okay. When you don't have symptoms anymore, that you're like, let's say you're trying to treat some symptom you have, like bad temper, high anxiety, whatever it is you have, when you don't have that symptom, you're finished taking the Bach flowers. Now, normally, in terms of experiencing relief, people start to feel better, I've found, within the first week, very, very commonly. It sometimes happens that a person feels better within the very first dose. And I told you 2 stories today where I forgot to say to you that having a complete remission of symptoms in the first dose isn't the most common scenario, but it is not uncommon either. It happens. So it was good that it happened to my child when I was using it, because I didn't believe in Bach flower therapies when I tried them. I was just completely desperate. I don't know what I was thinking. And I wouldn't probably have stuck with them for a long time. And I think the fact that it worked in 1 dose, and I never gave him a second dose for that, and the symptoms, that fear of robbers never came back, that can happen, but that's no guarantee. What tends to happen is we experience some relief of symptoms within the first week, and things get better and better, and we start forgetting to take the Bach remedies. So at first, for a regular, let's say, ongoing low mood that we're suffering from, we might take the remedies 4 times a day, 4 or 5 times a day. And then as we're starting to feel better, we don't reach that bottle 4 or 5 times a day. We took it like a few times during the day, but we're still taking it, and then as we're feeling better and better, maybe we're taking it once or twice or once a day. Now, here's where the addictive personality might come in. Some of us might feel anxious. Oh, I don't want to stop because I'm afraid the symptoms will come back. We can treat that with Bach flowers, but if you haven't treated that anxiety, you might continue to take that once a day or once or twice a day for longer than you need. But eventually, most people stop because there's no addictive release and relief that we get from Bach flowers. Like when you take a herbal substance or a drug, legal or illegals, sometimes you can get especially with anti-anxiety drugs, you can get a profound relief. The same thing with alcohol, of course, and whatever, you get a profound relief. That profound relief becomes addictive. The brain craves that more and more. Now, with Bach flowers, you just feel normal. You just feel like it's no profound relief. It's hard to describe, but it's like when the floor in your kitchen is dirty, you might notice that, but when it's clean, it's like, you're not celebrating. It's like, oh, it's a clean floor. Like that's the way it's supposed to be. Like when Bach flowers have worked, you feel like the way you're supposed to feel. You're not feeling high. You're not feeling ecstatic. There's nothing pulling you to take it more and more. It's like, okay, I'm normal. I don't need it. You feel like I don't need it. That's what you feel like. Okay. So it's kind of built in self-limiting. So when you really don't need it, you don't want it. You don't take it. And then when you feel out of sorts again, you want it and you'll take it. And that's how it works. Okay. You take it off and on. And some of the things that you kind of cure yourself of that, let's say you took the remedy for worrying about your children because you're always worried about your children. And you take that remedy off and on for a year, maybe 2 years, and then you find that you're never worrying about your children again. That's great. But you have something else that goes on because as long as you're alive, you'll have other problems. Like these don't end while we're in our human frames, okay? So you may take some other remedies instead. And Dr. Bach described this process as kind of like peeling an onion, where you're going down the layers. Like, okay, that's finished. Okay, now let's do this one. Okay, that's finished. Now let's do the next one. And you're kind of getting better and better, calmer and calmer, happier and happier, more elevated, closer to your true potential on every round. Okay, so that's kind of it. But it'll be with different things that you're treating, different remedies that you're going through. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. I want to go ahead and welcome all of our new members just over the last few minutes. Welcome, Bracha. Welcome, Suri. Welcome, Shmuel. Wonderful to have all of you. Welcome, Shoshana. It's great to see you. Welcome, Priscilla. Welcome, Sylvia. It is wonderful to have all of you here. Thank you so much. We look forward to joining you as well on this journey. And I think somebody actually asked, can they invite friends? Absolutely. Please feel free to pass on the link if you know people who will gain and benefit from this course. We are happy to invite them to join as well. So please feel free to go ahead and pass that along. We had some other questions come in about, so I was born in LA, no hint of anxiety, but my main problem is focus and discipline. Is that something that we can find help with Bach flowers?
Yes. With Bach flowers, we'll treat the underlying, let's say, whatever it is. It could be distraction. It could be spaciness. It could be a lot of different reasons why we're having trouble focusing. We treat that, and then it'll be easier for you to use the same strategies that we all need to bring our attention to a task that maybe we don't want to do, or a lesson that we're not interested in listening to, or whatever it is. There's strategies that we may all need to force ourselves to concentrate, but they're harder for you if there's something in your system that makes it particularly challenging. So that's how Bach flowers work for everybody. It doesn't mean that's the only thing. Sometimes I have to say it is the only thing, okay? But very often it just makes it easier to do the things we need to do, okay? The other interventions we may need to use. Like with ADHD, somebody asked about that. Like, does it cure ADHD? No. Okay. Does it reduce some of the difficult symptoms that make it easier for the child to learn the tricks and skills that he might need, or the adult with ADHD to learn to apply self-help strategies? Yes. Okay. It would work like that. Does it cure OCD? No. Does it make it easier to use the cognitive behavioral approach that you'll need to cure the OCD? Definitely. Okay. That kind of thing.
Thank you. That really helps. Okay. I know that we've also gotten some questions about physical symptom or physical challenges like psoriasis. Stuttering.
Yeah, and we could say headaches and stomach aches and all sorts of things. Like the mind-body works together. Definitely, our stress affects the resistance our body has to viruses, bacteria, disease in general. There's always the potential around us all the time in what we're eating, drinking, breathing, to become sick. And, it's one of the things like exercise, healthy food, healthy diet, fun, and whatever that we can add to our regime to boost our immunity and stay healthier. So people do find that their physical things that they're plagued with, whether it's their headaches, their routine headaches, or their stomach aches, or their backaches, or their psoriasis, or the intensity of the symptoms that they experience in their whatever disorder they have, it all just diminishes, And that, again, was Dr. Bach's main thing. His main thing was, like, let's get all these rashes cleared up, not by giving you a rash cream, but by dealing with underlying stress. And so often when you go to your doctor and you're saying, I'm having this pins and needles sensation, I'm having palpitations in my heart. They give you a whole workup and they say, well, good news, you're fine. It's just stress. Or, well, just stress. What are you going to do about that? And the doctor doesn't really have an answer for you, but we do with Bach flowers. We have plenty of great answers for you. Just stress is like just life, like there's a lot of things that throw us into a funk all the time. If you have children, at least one of those kids is having some problem right now. Like you can't have everybody in the family be happy all the time, be succeeding all the time. There's always something for a parent to, be concerned about, or there's always stuff going on in a marriage. There's always stuff going on with finances, with life. Okay, so the Bach flowers keeps us. It's one of the tools we use to not fall apart mentally or physically. It just helps us. Are we going to die? Yes. Okay. It's not going to stop that. But it prolonged Dr. Bach's life for almost 20 years. When he had a deathly illness that had, 3 months to live with, it may prolong our lives. It may help us to fight the battle longer. All right.
Thank you so much. I hope that really helped everybody. I would like to go ahead and just welcome a few more people. It does look like these spots are filling up, so it's really great to see all of our new members. Welcome, Anne. Welcome, Javi. Wonderful to have both of you as well. And welcome, Esther. Please, as I mentioned, come on back and let me know when you are in. I'd love to be able to welcome you. And if you're having any trouble registering or need help, please come on back and just put your name and your telephone number. We were happy to go ahead and call to help you register. I want to go ahead and just answer some questions about the course itself. All of the classes take place, as I had mentioned earlier, on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Israel time. But again, don't worry if you can't make it to a live class. A recording will be available to you to listen to and download at your convenience. And should you have questions throughout the course and you can't make it to those live sessions, you can always email in those questions, and we will make sure to have those addressed on either during a class one week or during those two special Q&A sessions. And welcome, Janine. Great to have you as well. So Sara Chana, I had a question come in. I guess, why is it so important, if interested in learning more and really wanting to start utilizing the Bach flower remedies within yourself or your family, why is it important to take the course versus just picking up a book or trying it on your own?
I mean, I'm thinking the short answer is because I know a lot of stuff that you don't know, because I practice psychology, and I'll just make it, I'll make you efficient much sooner. Anybody can certainly pick up a book and look it down and should be able to get some results, okay? But if you really want to help yourself at a deeper level, be more effective and faster for yourself and for your kids, the course will help you with that. There's no question about it. It's why I said there's such a thing as a Bach flower practitioner altogether. Like, we have a lot of experience in moods, emotions, and the breadth of the remedies. Like, you'll see a little one-line description, let's say on a folder in a health food store, and it'll say aspen is for fear, or aspen is for vague fears or something. Or it'll say larch is for fear of failure. But, really there's books written, and the books have, full complete chapters on each one of those 38 remedies. So like I showed you this fat book, it's a kind of fat book on the remedies and how to use them. And you'll see, although the book is beautiful and so on, you have to really want to read and learn, and then you wouldn't want to read just that one book, because everybody who's written a book on Bach flowers has actually taken a particular angle. So you'd want to really read 10 books, let's say, to really get what can this remedy do. It's simple enough that if you take the remedy for fears, it may have some help. But if you really want to capture the whole thing that's going on and get rid of the whole thing, the course is going to put you way ahead of the game. That's all I can tell you. You will know a lot more. I'm not just reading to you what you'll find in a book, okay? It's going to be more a course on drawn from my practice in psychology, so that you're really going to get a good understanding of what is treatable by Bach flowers and what part has to be taken over without Bach flowers, and what you do with the part that's without Bach flowers, like what is the intervention that you might want there. Honestly, the course that you're going to receive on Bach flowers will have a lot of psychology in it. So we're looking at dysfunctional moods, or dysfunctional is not necessarily the word I want. It's more disturbed, or it's not even that word. It's whatever, not good moods. Okay, I don't want to make it sound like it's clinical, because when it's really clinical, we're not dealing with this stuff at all. Okay, but when it's human, okay, when we've got a lot of the problems of living, then the solutions are broad, and the remedies can help us in bigger ways than just reading a one-line thing. That's all. And I'm going to draw on, like I said, the psychology that goes with the Bach flower, thing. So you'll have a broader understanding and a deeper understanding. Well, I hope that you will join for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I want to go ahead and welcome Emily. That is nice to have you here as well. And let me see some other questions coming in. Okay, great. We will give you a call really soon. JB. Okay. Does it help with losing weight?
It helps with any human struggle that we're having. That would be the short answer. And okay, there's definitely, for the weight loss, there's a lot of things that go into why we're having trouble losing weight, and the remedies help with all of those separate things. So each person taking remedies for losing weight may have a separate one of these, like mixing bottles. So my mixing bottle for losing weight might be different than somebody else's mixing bottle, different than the third person's mixing bottle, because what's holding us back is not all the same thing. Emotional eating, overeating, when we eat, why we eat, why we're struggling with the diet that we're trying to keep, why our body isn't processing the food properly. All this stuff is unique to us, and we'll get separate set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 remedies in our bottle to address all of that. And in that sense, it does help. Of course, it helps you to stay on your eating plan and to make the life changes that you want to make. But of course, you have to make those changes. But like in all other things, Bach flower treatment helps you make the changes that you want to make, carry out the programs that you want to carry out.
Fantastic. So as we're coming, I guess, to the end of our time in just a little bit here, I guess I want to just really reiterate to everyone who's here on the line. There were some other questions that were coming in, and I think that it is really important. The questions that I see are very specific. So my 12-year-old with social anxiety, or my husband with OCD, or I suffer from panic attacks. It looks like a lot of different anxiety.
I want to say that Bach flowers can actually help with all of those things, and we're going to look at how. Yes, yeah. So, obviously, we don't have time today. If the question is, can it help? Yes, it can help. Yes.
Right, exactly. So I wanted to reiterate, if you don't feel or didn't hear your question asked in the exact words that you wrote it in, I just wanted to reiterate exactly what you said, Sara Chana, which is all of these things can be helped with Bach flower remedies, and you'll learn exactly how to help each individual issue throughout the course. So please, if you didn't hear your words being asked, the answer is yes.
Yeah, and I want to say that this is why Bach flowers and psychology is actually a good combination. As a professional psychologist, I actually am aware of all of these diagnostic things and what they are and what they aren't, and where Bach flowers would play in. So for those of you who are dealing with what they call mental health issues, which are more intense symptoms than just I feel stressed, you're going to be able to learn about that in the course. You will be able to. That I'm definitely focusing on all of that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I guess where I would want to leave it now, so that we're just not super repetitive here, if you can leave everyone who's on the line with us with some parting words, and maybe just even a little more of a sneak peek into what's about to come up next week with us.
Well, parting words, I personally feel that Bach flower is like a gift from God to us. They're a healing modality that doesn't hurt us. You know, a lot of the things that we have produced ourselves in terms of medicines and stuff, they're bittersweet in the sense that they have a lot of side effects. They do help us enormously sometimes, but not without cost. Whereas Bach flowers are not like that. They're just a gentle friend along life's journey. And I think that they're just a wonderful thing for you to explore. If they, in the end, don't do anything for you, no, there's no harm. There's no great expense involved in them or difficulty with them, or it's not a huge sacrifice to try them. And if they do help, it's such a boon to us, and just a way to reach out and not suffer from intense stress and the effects of stress. So yeah, that's what I want to leave you with. And in terms of the sneak preview, well, all of the emotions that we encounter, all of the things that are going on with our children, our spouses too, their huge meltdowns or their high anxiety, not just ours, but the people that we're living with, we're going to be able to often find ways to help them and to have more peaceful family lives, as a kind of a benefit to knowing about Bach flowers, a healthier, more functional home life for all of us. So yeah, that'll be included there too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you to everyone who was on the line with us today. Looking forward to joining as many of you next week as possible.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and leave the webinar open for just a little bit. You won't hear anything, but it'll still give you the chance to find the link if you'd like to go now, and put your name and phone number into the chat box. If you still have questions or need help registering, I'll go ahead and leave that open. Once the webinar is closed, unfortunately, I won't be able to get your information. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We'd love to be able to help you get into this amazing course that is, again, as I mentioned, just those 2 payments of $97, which is the lowest price we have offered all year for sure, but really I think all 3 years of
it's
Sara
a bargain.
So it is a huge bargain, but we wanted to try and make it as accessible as possible. So to grab that spot is really a special treat. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can also email us at jewishworkshops@jewishworkshops.com. And as I mentioned, I'll just leave the webinar open for another couple minutes. So thank you, Sara Chana, for spending your time with us today.
Thank you so much.
It was really a pleasure. And thank you to everyone who was here. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you.